In this video, we're talking about response timing and why it's so important on Airbnb and your short-term rental business. So stay tuned.
Vacation Rental Machine helps hosts just like you learn how to start, grow, and scale your short-term rental business. This show is all about creating systems that help you automate your business, giving you more time and money freedom. If you're ready to start living the vacation rental life, then subscribe to this podcast today. Come and join us on our Facebook group, The Host Nation, where we'll be talking about starting, automating, and scaling a short-term rental business. Now, on to the show.
Hey, what is going on, Host Nation? John is still at his unit doing the build out. This is probably number 30, I think. So this is pretty crazy. But we are talking about response timing and why it's so important for your Airbnb and short-term rental business. So John, you are a passionate person about Smartbnb. This is the product currently that we are using. Again, guys, we're talking about the products that we're actively using in our management business, and we're being very transparent. Like John is using Wheelhouse. I've been playing around with Beyond Pricing. I'm also trying out Your Porter, but there are tools that work a little bit better. And what John has found is that Smartbnb is one of those tools that really helps him automate his business, and it gives some really cool metrics. So in this episode, we're going to be showing you why response timing is so important and some of the cool things that Smartbnb allows you to see. So John, why don't you take this episode and roll with it and talk a little bit about response timing, what you were doing before and what you're doing now, and some of those metrics that you wanted to show the host nation. So if you are listening to this, this is going to be one of those episodes that you want to go to YouTube and watch, or in the Host Nation Facebook group. We always share episodes of Vacation Rental Machine, but there's going to be some cool metrics and stuff like that. So if you are just listening on podcast format, definitely want to go and listen to this and watch it on video, because we are a couple of beautiful guys. So you don't want to miss that either. So John, why don't you take this episode and roll with it and talk about response timing?
Response times in this business is very important. You got somebody pretty much on the hook. It's just like fishing, right? When you feel a bite, you want to pull it and then wheel it on in, right? That's exactly how you got to get these people to book with you. So your response time is very important. If you don't, they'll just take the bait and run, right? They'll just go to somebody else and book with them just because they had a simple question that you weren't able to either respond with an automation or even just a message like, hey, give me a minute, I'll respond to you in just a second. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes you just got to be responsive. You got to stay by your phone. You got to either answer it with some type of automations. I use Smartbnb to answer a lot of my questions. I use a lot of bullet points in my descriptions for the questions that the guest might have. So they're not messaging me for the simple stuff. They're messaging me for unique things. Sometimes it's just a unique thing like, hey, I need to have my child take a nap at 2 p.m. Is there a possibility I can get in there at 2? I do have an automation that responds to anything about early check-in, but because that's such a unique situation, I can then follow up with that response and say something else, whether I could do it or maybe I can't do it at all because I got somebody checking out. So how important is really responding back to guests? How fast should you really do it? You should be responding back to them within minutes. I typically try to do at least 6 to 7 minutes or so. They should get something from me, something from my automation, something. I don't want to be super responsive. I don't set my automations to go out instantly because sometimes that feels a little impersonal. I kind of look at mine and I just set it on a small delay and it goes out. And it just keeps people engaged. It gives me also a few minutes to kind of come up with the response. How does that look in metrics? I'm going to share my screen. This is Smartbnb. This is one of the tools that we recommend that you have. It's not often that I say you got to have something, but this is one of those tools that, in my opinion, you got to have. You can't skip this one. You can't use your PMS messaging system. You don't get the same data. You don't get the same output that you can look at for yourself, and your guest experience doesn't have the exact same thing. So here's what my metrics looks like. This is over the last 30 days. And if you guys could see my screen, you see how I've done. Technically, these are all my inbound messages, right? I got over 11, almost 1,200 messages there. And I've solved a lot of days with just my automation, 6 days and 17 hours just with messaging over the last 30 days. This is why this is crucial to anybody's business. My AI, or automated response, has responded to over 272 messages. Very key. And look at how many times, my seconds in average response time. This happens in 0 seconds. Normally when they respond or message me, I'm sending something very quickly. Most times when somebody checks in, no matter where you put it, they want to know the Wi-Fi code, right? If you even put it in a message that goes to them after check-in, somehow they still don't see it, but they still ask the question. My AI then sends the message to them very quickly. You see this piece right here, this conversion rate. This is what you want to focus on. This is why response times are very, very important. This is conversion of people that inquire, and then you convert them into a booking. So if I can convert 61% of the people that just ask me a general question, it's because of my response time to them that allows them to feel confident enough to book a reservation with me. 100%. We got to focus on this. The only way that I know to keep this number high is to automate a lot of stuff. Smartbnb made me hit above 60% here. Next category down here, this response times to events. This goes from inquiry to pending to accepted, right? So from when somebody submits an inquiry, roughly it's 6 minutes, and before it's accepted, it's 5 minutes or so on average. So this, again, tells the exact same story. I'm responding to them within 7 minutes. I'm trying to convert those people as fast as possible. I'm keeping everything below a 7-minute threshold just to make sure that, hey, if I'm talking to you, I'm going to try to get you to book. You're interested. You like my photos. You like something about it. You wouldn't message me unless you did. So because you're on the hook, I want to go ahead and wheel you in. You're going to get a message back from me. I'm going to let you know everything that you want to know. And that is 100% important within this business, is you got to be responsive. Again, this kind of goes back to our previous video about just being hospitable at the same time. You can't just leave people just hanging, right? You know, I tried to go stay somewhere out in the mountains with the guy, beautiful property, photos had me like in awe, and I was ready to book. I just had one simple question because he mentioned in his listing that, you know, it was off-road. And I'm like, hey, I got 4-wheel drive car. Will I have an issue trying to get there? It took him 3 days to respond. And you know what I did? I booked with somebody else. It wasn't as great of a property, but just because he didn't get back to me in a certain time, I just felt like I don't want to stay here. We got to be quick. We got to be responsive. We got to be responsive on all platforms. Airbnb, HomeAway, VRBO, Booking.com. We got to be on top of it. People want to book. They got questions, 100%. We got to respond within a timely manner.
So Smartbnb shows us a lot of data, and I hope you all understand and realize just how important your response timing is. So I want to give you guys a little gift. So we're going to be including a free downloadable where you can actually get every single type of message that you want to include in your Smartbnb or in your automated messages. So if you are using something like Your Porter, you still want to have these types of messages in your automated messages, because Your Porter, Smartbnb, these automated messaging platforms, they do have some templates already pre-made, but we want to have you fully covered in all your bases. So I'm going to be including in the description of this podcast and video a link where you can go and download all the things that you want to hit in your automated messages, and some of those also unique ones, because there are things such as, like, if you have a smart lock, then you are going to want a certain type of message for that. So with all that being said, Host Nation, keep on hosting.
Hope you hosts found value in this episode. If you did, please go on over to iTunes and leave us a review, as that would greatly support the show. If you'd like to connect with John, the community, and I, then go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.